Well, hello there, viewers. Well, this one's going to be different. On a channel that spends its time in the main knocking people and calling those that I perceive to have a lack of talent and those that are still in a living. For a change, we're going to praise somebody. But we're not only going to praise them a little, we're going to praise them a lot. Because this is concerning a gentleman called Clint Eastwood, who I've got all the time in the world for, who has entertained me throughout my lifetime, and who, in my humble opinion, is one of the greatest directors there's ever been. And also one of the greatest movie stars. Well, he's definitely one of the greatest movie stars. Many would agree with that as a star. Many would say he isn't one of the greatest actors. I would disagree. I think he's a fantastic actor. His body of work tells you that. He's acted in so many different kind of genres, different films. It's unbelievable. And as I say, he's been at it for many a year. But he's a wonderful director. As a director, there's few for my money that match him. You know, Ford probably did, but there's not many others. He's just brilliant. I love his cinematography. I love the pictures he paints. I love the way he puts a film together. You know, many of his films don't even need scripts and dialogue. They're that good just to watch. But I thought what I'd do, the news of the day hasn't been, there's nothing happening in the news, there's nothing to talk about, and I thought, let's go with something different than the norm. Let's look at an actor, i.e. Clint, and let's look at his 10 greatest films. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you his 10 greatest films in my humble opinion. Remember, it's only my opinion, because I'll tell you now, there's definitely some films that many of the critics would never put in there within that top 10. And there's a few of the films that I think many of his fans would not put in there. But I like them for different reasons, and I'll give reasons behind each. What we'll do, we'll go from 10 to number 1, got a story with each, and I do hope at number 1 I don't break down. You won't understand what that means, but I'm likely to, and I'll try not to, I promise. Number 10, seen this many years ago, probably 40 or more. And if somebody would have said to me 40 years ago, Dave, you're going to see 9 better Clint Eastwood films than this one, I would have said, you must be having a laugh. It's impossible. And it's impossible because this is so good. Number 10 for me would be For a Few Dollars More. The middle one in the spaghetti trilogy, I think it was Fistful of Dollars that started it all off. For a Few Dollars More than The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. I think many of the critics believe the same film as me to be the best of the three, but I think many film fans prefer the latter, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly, probably as much as anything else because it's got Eli Wallach and Lee Van Cleef in there, as well as Eastwood himself. But for me, the middle one was the better of the three. And by the way, when I've picked this 10, just to let you know, it took about 20 minutes to do. I couldn't believe how quick I did it. But what I will say is, if I pick them tomorrow, they'd be in a different order, and the day after, a different order again, and by Saturday or Sunday, many of the top 10 wouldn't get in, and others would get in, and vice versa. Because he's done that many, as I say, and there's that many that I love and like and love, there's some that wouldn't get in. Number 1 would definitely never ever change for me. Number 1 is, without doubt, my favourite film of Eastwood's. It might not be of other people's, it might not be of his, it is of mine. It's one of my greatest films of all time. Many won't understand it, but it meant something to me, and that's part of it, but I just think it's a great film. Anyway, number 10, For a Few Dollars More. Number 9, we're back to the Western, and we're going to pick one that I probably not a hell of a lot to pick. But I love it because it's different. It's different than anything I've seen before it. It's different than anything I've seen since. It's a film cloaked in, is it mystique and mystery? And it's all the better for that. And it's High Plains Drifter. Now, one of the great things I loved about this film was its cast. As well as the story, I loved its cast. Eastwood is very much like John Wayne before him. He had an ensemble cast that he took with him from film to film. They didn't do every film with him, but many of the 6 or 7 actors did probably 6, 8, 10, 12 films with him over the course of his film career. He liked relying on certain people. He knew he'd always get value for money out of them, and they were good at what they did. And I love them too. And there's many of them within this film that are in many of his other films. So High Plains Drifter would be number 9. For me, number 8 would be The Eiger Sanction. I thought it came out in 73. I looked earlier for something else and it came out in 75. I knew it was around about that time. Loved it. And again, cast was massive for me. For different reasons. The reason I love this was the lead actors in it that were in it with Eastwood. I love them. Jeff Bridges was fantastic. It was the first real time I'd really noticed him and really seen him. for me, it's as good a part as he's ever played, and I know he's been a lead actor in many films since. He wasn't the lead in this, obviously. How could he be with Clint Eastwood in the film? But I thought it was brilliant. It character was brilliant. It was almost like it was wrote for him. It was brilliant. And George Kennedy, well, there's not much you can say about George Kennedy other than he's just awesome. You know, was he in Cool and Luke? Yeah, Cool and Luke. He was brilliant in that with Newman. He was brilliant in True Grit with John Wayne. I just love him. I think he's a great character actor. And he was brilliant as well. And it was just a great film. The cinematography, fantastic. You know, when you live in England and you live in towns full of houses and not much greenery, you see the America and the wilds of America, you know, the cornfields, the wonderful sunsets, the settings, and then you go to the mountains, and just brilliant, just an absolutely brilliant film. The script, great, really on the money. The storyline's good. The acting's like at the top of its game. Just a great film. If you've not watched it, watch it. It's just great. What have we got for number 7? Number 7, well, this is one of the 2 films that I'm almost certain no critics will put in Clint Eastwood's top 10. I'm not so sure many of the fans would either. Number 7 and 5 for me are totally different films, but very alike for one reason. And when we get to number 5, I'll tell you the likeness in my eyes and one of the reasons I like them both so much. But number 7 for me will be The Gauntlet. Not a massive film, not a massive grossing film. I think when I went to see that, and I may be wrong here, but I'll never know now, and no one can correct me. I think when it came into the cinemas in Great Britain, or in England where I'm from, I'm pretty sure it was the second film on the bill. When I was a kid, you used to go and watch a film at the pictures, or the flicks, and there'd always be 2 films. There'd be a first film, then an interlude where you get your ice creams and whatever else and watch your Pearl and Dean advertisements, and then the main film. And I'm pretty sure, although Eastwood was a big star at that time as well, you know, not as huge as he became, but a big star at that time, I'm pretty sure it wasn't the main film, but I may be wrong. Anyway, The Gauntlet's a simple film, simple story, bit unbelievable in the amount of bullets that are fired at them that none really hit, but it's just brilliant the way it's done. It's just totally different. It's just something different, and I loved it. I just loved it. I seen it about 12, 14 months ago for the first time in 5 or 6 years, and just really enjoyed it. And I'll get to one of the main reasons why when we get to film number 5. But before film number 5, we're on film 6. What's film 6? Gran Torino. Now, again, probably not a lot put that in there, you know, but I just loved it. I loved it because it's like a feel-good film. It's like many of Clint's over the last few years have become. You know, he's older now, you know, his voice isn't what it was, he doesn't move as he did. But he just commands that stage, and he plays an American. It could be the same if he was British. I mean, like me, what's my channel, the Britain's Grumpiest Old Git. He plays an old grumpy bugger brilliantly. He plays somebody that's racist and other things, and I can't think of things, brilliantly. But you know deep down he's not, even in the film. You know he's just of an older generation. You know he's been brought up differently. You know he thinks differently than the young do. And you know as the film goes on, it's going to show that he's not really racist. He's not a bad person. He's got good throughout him. You just know with the young kid, the young lead, he's going to get to really like him. He's going to get to back him all the way, and he's going to get to help him, because that's what Eastwood would do. And you know the character would do it as well, and it's just brilliant. I just think it's different, and it's just brilliant. It's a gentle film, not loads happens in it, but it's just great. I just like the film. Number 5, this is the second. I think this one on The Gauntlet would be 2 that many wouldn't get in the top 10, and critic-wise anyway, I'm pretty sure. But number 5 for me is a film I loved when it came out. I've loved it ever since. I introduced it to my kids many years ago, and I think they liked it. I don't think I've seen it for a long time. Again, I've not seen it for about 12 or 14 months now, but I've seen it 12 or 14 months ago, and I realised in one aspect how it's very close to The Gauntlet, although they're massively different films. Number 5 for me will be Every Which Way But Loose. Just loved it. Loved the music in it. Loved the people that were in it. Jeff Lewis, his brother, in it, fantastic. The mother, I've re-recorded this because I got upset with number 1 earlier, and I don't want to get upset this time, but I meant to go away and find out the lady's name because I knew her name and I've forgotten it. She must have been 90, 92, 93 when she made the film with him. She's just brilliant in it. If ever you get to watch it, just watch his mother in it. She's just brilliant. She's just, what an actress, what a part she plays. But the lead part in the film was probably taken by, was it Clyde? Was he called Clyde in the film? I don't think it was his real name in real life. I say real life, he's an animal, an orangutan. Has anyone seen it with the orangutan? Just brilliant. Just brilliant. When Eastwood does that and the orangutan falls dead, I just laughed and laughed and laughed, and still do when I see it now, 30, 40 years later. Just a great film. I just loved it. And again, it's like the High Plains Drifter. That ensemble cast, they're all in there again. Mostly as baddies, they're just all in there. And they're brilliant. It's just great. It's just a feel-good film. It's funny. It's just good. But the way I link it to The Gauntlet, and this is what I love about it, and it's one of the things I really love about Clint Eastwood, is that first 10 minutes. If you get the chance, please watch The Gauntlet and watch Every Which Way But Loose, and watch the first 10 minutes of each film. I think in each film, if I remember it, I think in Every Which Way But Loose, he's finishing work, finishing his shift, and he comes home and it just shows him getting in his car and coming home, and that's basically it. I think in The Gauntlet, maybe he's been in the bar late on at night, and again it just shows him leaving the bar and coming home. That first 10 minutes of each film, there's very little dialogue in each of the 10 minutes from what I remember. Nothing happens, no plot lines, no nothing. You're just filming a side of America that us in Britain never sees, because it's a totally different world, it's alien to us, and it's just brilliant, and I just love the filming. I love the simplicity in both of them. I just love them first 10 minutes of each film. In fact, in the next month or two now, I'm going to watch them both again, just to see if I'm right, and I know I am, but just to see it. But Every Which Way But Loose, loved it. Just, if you get a chance again, give it a watch. Well, we've got number 4. Well, you're not going to get a top 10 without this film. Dirty Harry. Genius. Just a genius of a film. If I'm right, and I think I'm right, I'm sure John Wayne passed up on this one and always regretted it, and think he ended up making McHugh or Brannigan as an instead of a few years later. Whichever one it was, they were pretty good with John Wayne in them, but obviously it wasn't the film that Dirty Harry was. Dirty Harry, just a fantastic film. Just a great cop film. Just a great character. Spun 3 or 4 more films after, I think 3 more. Initially I think it was 3 overall, then I think they did a 4th one. They might have even done a 5th. Just a great film. Great character. Great lines. A great gun. Just brilliant. It's just great. There's not much more to say. Right, number 3. Number 3 for me is the film that everybody would have as number 1. I'm sure all the critics would. I'm sure many Eastwood fans would. I've got to confess, when I first seen this, for all I liked it but didn't really love it and really embrace it. And I think the reason for that is my number 1 film, which we're going to get to in a moment. And I didn't fall in love with it as I should. I didn't then see it for about 2 or even 3 more years. And I seen it 2 or 3 years later, and I thought, wow, what a film. What a film. How did I not get it properly the first time? I mean, I loved it the first time. But for someone like me who just loves anything Clint Eastwood and watches virtually everything, I thought, how did you not get that? How did you not fall in love with that day one? But I didn't. I now have. And it's called The Unforgiven. Just a wowzer of a film. Just brilliant. I mean, every critic says it. It might be his most decorated film. It may not be. But it may be. Just a brilliant film. Just brought a Western back to life. It was just great. And again, what I loved about this again is cast-wise, and where you go from some of the films I've mentioned where he has the ensemble cast, they're not the big stars, but you see their face all the time and you know them and you're going to get value for money. You then went to the Eiger sanction where you also got Jeff Bridges and George Kennedy, although Jeff Bridges wasn't the big star then. So you got 2 real cracking actors. With this film, I think you've got Eastwood. You've got Morgan Freeman, who is fantastic, who doesn't do a bad film. You've got Gene Hackman, who is probably one of my favourite actors of all time, just a brilliant actor, and he plays a fantastic part in this. And then I almost forgot Richard Harris. You've got Richard Harris in there as well. So you've got Eastwood with 3 giants of the screen, so you've got 4 fantastic actors, which is almost unheard of, I would suggest, other than probably Kelly's Heroes. he's never starred with as many stars in a film in his life, I wouldn't have thought. There may be other films, I'd have to look at that, but off the top of my head I can only think of this and Kelly's Heroes, where there's so many superstars in a film, but he's brilliant, and again he commands the set as he always does. Again, cinematography, shooting, just brilliant. So there's number 3. Number 2 for me, $1 Billion Baby. Ooh, what a film. Makes me so happy, but can make me cry in an instant. It's just so sad in lots of ways, but just a great film. He's fantastic in it. Is it Hilary Swank? She's fantastic in it. It's just a brilliant film. And I think Freeman's in that one as well, Morgan. I think he is, yeah. Not much more to say, just a great film. I'm not going to give the plot away. I'm not going to give anyone any clues as to what does and doesn't happen and how it goes and how it doesn't go. I think most everyone in here watching this will have seen it, but if you've not, you've got to watch that one. You've just got to watch that. It's just brilliant cinematography, brilliant cinema. It's just great. Number one, one of my favourite films of all time. If I ever get down or depressed, I feel low, I just want building up, I watch this film. It just always makes me feel great. It always upsets me. It upsets me because I watched it when I was younger. I watched it with some friends. I watched it with my best friend who within 2 or 3 years was dead. I think of it all the time. I don't have many pictures, many photographs, but I've got a photograph with my friend, I think, if I remember right, stood in front of this poster when we seen it in the cinema, and he's posing in front of the poster. He'd been 17, 18 at the time, so you know it's from a few years ago now, because I'm 60 odd. But I just love it. I just love it. It's The Outlaw, Josie Wales. I can keep saying I just love it. For my money, loved, again, a lot don't like this, a lot call John Wayne. I love True Grit. I thought True Grit was brilliant, the John Wayne version. Many have said the one that the remake with Jeff Bridges is better. I can't have that. I'm not having that for it. I don't care. I don't care who's the better actor. I know a lot. John Wayne's not PC. A lot don't like him. I loved him. I just love the film. I love the thing behind the film, and it always gets me. True Grit. I loved it. My favourite Western of all time would probably be not The Searchers, although everyone would point to that. Probably for me it would be Red River with Montgomery Clift and Walter Brennan, but I love Walter Brennan. I love Red River, I just love it. But this one, The Outlaw Josie Wales, for me, if I had to watch one film before I died, it'd probably be this. But it's got a backstory to me. But the film's fantastic. I mean, when his mate is singing, what's he singing? Oh my God, I thought of it before. When I did the last recording of this that I've wiped because I got upset at the end. Rose of Alabama, that's it, Rose of Alabama. I knew it straight away, and it doing me. Rose of Alabama cuts through me. And then at the end, the scenes with 10 Bears, just watch that, it's brilliant. I can watch that scene with 10 Bears 20, 30 times on the bounce and love it. But The Outlaw Josie Wales, fantastic. Clint Eastwood's never been better, never looked better, never acted better. The cast to a man, to a woman are fantastic. Granny, she's brilliant in it, Granny. And then you've got, is it Chief Dan George? Chief Dan George. One of the best characters as a character and acting that character, but he's not because he really is Indian. One of the best single acts for my money Clint Eastwood's ever stood beside and acted with. In that, Chief Dan George was just absolutely gold. Just gold. Oof. So anyway, that's it for me. My top 10. I'll recap it. For a few dollars more, High Plains Drifter, The Eiger Sanction, The Gauntlet, Gran Torino, Every Which Way But Loose, Dirty Harry, The Unforgiven, $1 Billion Baby, and then The Outlaw, Josie Wales. If you agree, let me know below. If you don't, let me know below. And if you don't, I don't care. That's just my choice. And if you say anything's better than The Outlaw Josie Wales, I'm not going to agree with you. But I don't mind what you say. Everyone has their own opinion, and that's how it should be.